You're listening to the Blind Tiger Record Club podcast, where we champion music of all genres, and we believe vinyl is king.
For a dying man, I feel pretty good, I feel pretty good. For a righteous man, I'll do what I should, do what I should. For a fallen man, I'll get up again, I'll get up again. For a dying man, I feel pretty good. Oh, we're born to trouble as the sparks fly high. Born to trouble as the sparks fly. It's alright. In the light, I see you glowing. It's alright. In the light, I see you glowing.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Blind Tiger Record Club on air, sponsored by World Vision. I'm David Williams, and I'm here with the show's co-host, Rudy Newman.
Hey, everybody.
Don't you feel like you need like a...
Yeah, I wish there was crowd noise.
Yeah, crowd noise.
That'd be sick.
It's hard to believe it's already November. This crazy year is almost over.
Yeah.
I know we still have some rough patches to get through before it's over, like the election coming up tomorrow.
Oh, is that tomorrow?
Yes.
Oops.
And as separated as we may feel sometimes, hopefully this show will remind all of us our connection point through music. So on tonight's show, we're going to be discussing the Blind Tiger Record Club's November Records of the Month. All the music we discuss is on vinyl, which is all we carry at the Blind Tiger Record Club. So all the albums we discuss on the show have been released in the last 30 to 60 days on vinyl. So the show is really designed to be a discovery platform for newly released vinyl. But even if you do not listen to vinyl, even if it's not something that you even see yourself getting into in the near future, although you should, because it is the best format.
Yeah.
But even if it's not your cup of tea, this still is a show where you can discover new music and really just find out about albums that have been released, whether it's new artists, reissues on classic albums. So we hope that you will stay with us tonight and enjoy the show. You know, this is the same format we use on the B.T.R.C. podcast. We also have a segment there called the LP Interview. So check that out when you can. It's available on all podcast platforms from Apple to Spotify. You can also stream it directly at the Blind Tiger Record Club. Just click on the podcast link at the top of the page and you will see all the shows from Season 3 listed. So today we're discussing all four styles represented in the Blind Tiger Record Club's November Records of the Month program. The first style is the singer-songwriter album, and this month it's Brothers Osborne's new release, Skeletons. The second style is the rock and alternative record. It's a new artist from London, Beabadoobee, and it's her debut album, Fake It Flowers. Our third style is the jazz, soul, and blues album, and we normally do not include Christmas albums, but I think when you hear this, you'll see why we couldn't resist.
We got a little present for you.
It's Kelly Finnigan and his new album, A Joyful Sound. The fourth and final style is the classic rock. In this month, it's the album that launched Coldplay into the stratosphere, the 20th anniversary of the band's debut album, Parachutes. So, Rudy, let's get to today's show. Let's drop the needle and take a quick listen to the Blind Tiger Record Club's November Records of the Month.
I heard you've been creeping round about the time that sun goes down. Been talking in your sleep and it's been going on for weeks, and I've been solving puzzle pieces. High time to come to Jesus. You got skeletons in your closet, it's written all over your face. Every little lie stacked so high can't keep your story straight. I don't know how they got there, it's getting under my skin. You got skeletons in your closet and I got pick with them all.
So on October 9th, Brothers Osborne released their third studio album, having the appropriately October title of Skeletons.
Almost like they planned this, except for I don't know if they did.
It's on EMI Records Nashville. You know, this group has been very successful in creating commercial country that has country rock songs mixed with a fair share of slower ballads.
Yep.
This album is the band's shift to more of the rock side of things. Rolling Stone said that this is their first fully unabashed rock record, a collection of songs clearly meant as a rough draft of what they will one day sound like in front of a large audience.
Yeah. And I think they said that mainly because like this song was written kind of like with that arena rock mentality in mind, where these were going to be some really big choruses and like being able to be performed in way bigger halls and in arenas and stuff. And then guess what happened?
Yeah, right.
Lockdown.
Well, Classic Rock Magazine called this album part ZZ Top and part Shania Twain.
Oh.
And part Good Old Boy.
And I totally understand every single bit of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, this album landed at number 43 on the Billboard 200. It was number 4 on the U.S. Top Country Albums. The song we played at the intro was the title track of the album, Skeletons. And it was released early as a retail single. And that one was written by the brothers with Andrew DeRoberts.
Yep.
And he's written with Florida Georgia Line, Zach Brown Band.
Hootie.
Yes, my hometown legends, Hootie and the Blowfish.
Rudy and the Blowfish, if you grew up around my parts.
Brantley Gilbert, Eli Young Band. I mean, just many, many more.
Devin Dawson, Kip Moore, James Blunt.
Yep.
To switch away from pop country for a second.
Well, and that's a point I want to make. On this album, there's a lot of great writers, and we're going to mention a few of them
the
collaboration
on the show, but
is
huge on this album.
Now, the brothers write on all of them, but they brought in all these great writers to help them make the songs better, and so that's what you're looking at.
Yeah, I don't think that like the brothers Osborne need a ton of help with songwriting. Just like the two of them are extremely talented, you know, like making songs in and of themselves. But like when you put an Andrew DeRoberts, a Craig Wiseman, you know, all these other people that they wrote with, like I'm sure it elevated the product significantly.
Absolutely. Well, the first radio single is a song called All Night. It was also written with DeRoberts. It's currently at number 25 on Hot Country Songs.
I got the good, if you got the time. I got the moon, if you got the shine. I got the bag, if you got the beat. Got the solid gold country 33 on my beat. All night, get to living, feeling alright. Dancing out the denim in a oh my Levi's. I got the fuse if you got the light. I got the all if y'all got the night. All night. All night. I got the rebel if you got the yell. I got the raisin if you got the hell. I got the zig if you got the zag. Got that good life, hell of a time in the bag. All night, get to living, feeling alright. Dancing out the denim in a oh my Levi's. I got the fuse if you got the light.
You know, this is the third album they recorded with Grammy Award-winning producer Jay Joyce. So really, all of the band's albums have been with him.
I like to call Jay their honorary third member.
I think that's fair. I mean, he also plays all the acoustic guitars on this album.
Exactly.
Some of the 5-string banjo part, there's another player that plays some of that as well as the keys. He also does background vocals. So he's
contributing
really
in every area.
Yeah.
Did he play drums? I don't think so. I didn't see him in the drum credits.
And really, Joyce is the perfect producer for a group like Brothers Osborne.
Yep.
He's done a lot of work in country with groups like Little Big Town, which we talked about, him when we covered that record.
Yep.
Zach Brown Band, Ashley McBride, Eric Church. But he's also has deep roots in rock and alternative. He's produced Cage the Elephant, The Wallflowers, Coheed and Cambria, Hellstorm, Rainbow Kitten Surprise, and last year's amazing power pop album by White Reaper.
I was about to cut you off and say White Reaper, but I'm glad I waited till the end.
Well, we still play that all the time around here at the office.
We played it
a year later.
We were playing it last week.
He's also produced singer-songwriters like Amos Lee and Emmylou Harris, Patty Griffin, and John Hyatt. So
Jay's another person like Dave Cobb that reminds me of someone that can hear someone's voice and be like, oh, I know exactly what to do for that in the mix. And then like you end up with the best record possible.
Well, some people say he's one of the hardest working producers in the business.
Yeah.
Having a producer that runs this kind of musical spectrum, to me, it really allows like the duo to explore kind of their widest possible ranges of their own music. So, since they've recorded all their albums with them, to me, it's really hard to even separate Brothers Osborne, like you said, I mean, from Jay Joyce.
Yeah,
like
from him being a third member or extension of the group.
Well, even though this album is much more on the rock side of the brothers, they still have a couple of solid ballads on the record.
Absolutely.
One is a song called I'm Not For Everyone that was written by the brothers with Luke Dick and Natalie Hemby. Yep. Dick has written for artists like Cadillac 3, Eli Young Band, The Highwomen, Eric Church.
A little more of the modern country.
Dierks Bentley, many, many more, including Casey Musgraves for her Grammy smash Golden Hour.
Hey.
Hemby, we have mentioned a few times on the show when we talked about Little Big Town as well as Lori McKenna and The Highwomen.
She co-writes with everyone.
She's a big writer here in town. She is part of Highwomen. She's written for the album, but she's also one of the Highwomen.
One of the four.
She's written with Little Big Town, Miranda Lambert, John Party, Joy Williams, Rustin Kelly. She also wrote for Musgrave's Golden Hour.
Yes.
So another ballad on this album is High Note, and that was written by the brothers with Casey Beathard and Dustin Christensen. Now, Beathard is another Nashville hitmaker. I mean, he has cuts with so many artists. It'd be pointless to kind of name them all, but just to pick a few, there's Eric Church, John Party, Tim McGraw, George Strait.
We're talking going back to like the late 90s.
Trace Atkins, Kenny Chesney, even Chris Stapleton.
Billy Currington, Jake Owen.
Yep.
Like way back.
So Christensen has cuts with Kenny Chesney, Dustin Lynch, Frankie Ballard.
Couple of the newer guys.
Yeah, and they all came together to write on this song High Note with Brothers Osborne, and it's an excellent track. I think it's one of the strongest ballads on this record.
Tangled up in sheets, and we get 3 sheets to the wind. That's the way we roll, and baby, here we go again. Overlooking, let's try one more time. Don't ever work. By sunrise, it's a cloud 9 ride. We'll crash back down to earth. While we're up here, let's just fly. While we're smiling, you go your way and I'll go mine. Before the smoke clears, let's agree that's all she wrote. Let's say goodbye, say goodbye on a high note.
So there are a few more writers on this album worth noting. Ian Fitchuk and Daniel Tajian, also Casey Musgrave's Golden Hour producers and songwriters. They wrote on the track Lighten Up, which is one of the coolest tracks on the album.
Yeah.
Ian has cuts with Caitlin Smith, Brett Eldridge, Need to Breathe, Little Big Town, and that's just in 2020.
Yep. I feel like we talk about these two guys on the show just as much as we talk about the Dave Cobbs or the Jay Joyces. Like, these guys are writers everywhere.
For sure. And they come in and they play on records and they compose on records, but I feel like they come in and for whatever that project is, they actually become more than just, whatever they're being brought in to do.
Absolutely. Their production gets like instilled into the project as well.
Well, we've mentioned a lot of songwriters, but if you've been listening and paying attention, you've probably noticed that there is a lot of connection points between some of these writers and artists that are on this album. Yep. And so you're really kind of seeing this collective...
Like a web.
Yeah, and like a community group that consistently writes on a lot of these other albums together that have all come in to partner with Brothers Osborne on this album. Yep. So, Brothers Osborne has consistently been nominated for CMAs, ACMs, and Grammy Awards.
CMT Awards.
Yeah, there are several more singles to come off this album, and I wouldn't be surprised if the group continues its run on many of those same awards. The production on this album is really crisp. It sounds really good. It's what you expect from Joyce.
And it feels like there are probably about 5 or 6 possible radio singles, if not like a couple more. Like a lot of the tracks feel like they're set up for like radio success, kind of right out of the gate.
Which again is going to just add to that kind of appeal, you know, for award season. But you know, Joyce, I really think he nails guitar parts on this album, like both in his recording of the electrics by the brothers Osborne, as well as his playing of acoustic. Yeah. So it just
very complimentary.
Yeah, and they sound so bright, and I mean they're so good. And I realized that for some reason more on this record than I have even noticed on others, where maybe they're busier.
Yeah.
But you know, our members are going to be getting this in a limited edition white vinyl.
Yep.
We also have the band's 2018 release Port St. Joe in Seafoam Green, and we also have their 2016 debut Pawn Shop.
I believe it's on a standard black.
Both the podcast and on air are sponsored by World Vision, and we are so blessed to partner with them on COVID relief efforts. Right now, World Vision is really focused on issues coming from the COVID pandemic, which include hunger, violence, and poverty. But hidden heroes are rising up, helping the most vulnerable to survive, recover, and build a better future. When you are looking for a way to help, you want to look for an organization that can really make a difference. World Vision has been doing this for 70 years all over the globe. It's the perfect way for someone to play a significant role in something bigger. All of you out there listening can be a hidden hero. Go to blindtackerrecordclub.com and click on the World Vision tab at the top of the page. Donate today. If you give, let your friends know that you are fighting the impact of COVID. Tell them that you stepped up and they can too. Use hashtag Hidden Hero to share your encouragement. Ordinary people can come together and do extraordinary things. Be a hidden hero today. London indie rock up-and-comer Beatrice Louse, or B, as she goes by.
B.
Stage name Beabadoobee.
Nope.
Beabadoobee.
Not even.
Whose stage name is Beabadoobee. And on October 16th, she released her debut full-length studio project, Fake It Flowers, on Dirty Hit Records. Prior to this release, Beabadoobee had been building a following in the UK, releasing 4 extended plays between 2018 and 2019.
That's EP for all y'all out there, in case you don't know what extended play means.
Well, before this album even released, she received a nomination for the Rising Star Award at the 2020 Brit Awards, and she won a Radar Award at the 2020 NME Awards. This led to her performing at the NME Awards show. This is all before the COVID shutdown.
Yep.
So Beabadoobee was supporting the 1975 on tour.
Yeah,
so this was all
them,
set up to make it just an amazing, like, kind of rollout for Fake It Flowers.
And then
Well, the thing that really focused attention on her was the 2020 release by Canadian rapper and singer-songwriter Isaiah Faber, whose stage name is Palfu.
Yep.
Earlier this year, he released the single Deathbed featuring Beabadoobee on Columbia Records. The song was really a sample. Like she didn't like perform on it with him.
No,
she didn't even know he was doing it.
Yeah, it was a sample of the
she
track
has
that she
nothing
released.
to do with the track, literally, other than he liked her song Coffee.
And
It was off of one of those EPs. It was she released in 2017, and Palfu's version blew up on TikTok of all formats.
Yep.
It became a worldwide smash hit. It was played on TikTok a reported 4.1 billion times.
Billion.
But listen, that's just in March. Just in March of 2020.
I gotta pick my jaw up off the floor.
So
I don't understand how this happened. I don't understand how that many listens can happen in that short of time.
Well, that ended up leading to now the song has charted all over the world. It went number 4 on the UK's OCC. It was number 23 on Billboard's Hot 100. It was number 19 on Adult Top 40. It was number 1 on Rock and Alternative, number 3 on Rock, number 8 on Mainstream Top 40, and number 12 on Rolling Stone Top 100.
This isn't the standard way a band breaks, guys, or artist.
On Spotify, it has over 741,379,000 streams.
What?
With 18 million monthly listeners now for her profile. So all of that happening at TikTok with someone just sampling her song has now established her, just to kind of give you an idea of what 18 million monthly listeners is. She's now one of today's most streamed artists.
Yeah, has to be.
And in rock, she's only topped by bands like Coldplay and Imagine Dragons.
Oh, so bands
with
that have
monthly
been
listeners.
around in existence for
and arena
10 to 20
acts.
years
Yes.
/ arena rock acts.
Yeah. So this
she's almost there.
Yeah.
So like, cool.
So this debut full length was really on everybody's radar because all this happened before this record came out. So the first single off this album is currently at number 21 on Billboard's alternative chart, and it's number 20 on Mediabase alternative. And this is a song called Care.
It's been a while since I've talked about it. Maybe it's time to cooperate. I need some help to forget about it. I don't want your sympathy. Stop saying you give a shit, 'cause you don't really care, yeah. It's been a while since I thought about it. Maybe it's time to communicate. I was silent to think about it. The fact I still can't forget about it. I don't want your sympathy. I guess I've had it rough, but you don't really care, yeah.
So as I said, fans and critics alike were really waiting for this album.
Yeah, there's a lot of buzz.
Yeah.
A ton of buzz.
Well, critics love it.
Yeah.
Thomas Smith at NME, which obviously, they love her because,
Yeah.
they were going nuts about her even before
Already,
the record.
yeah.
But they gave it their highest rating, 5 out of 5 stars. He talked about comparisons to Nirvana's In Utero.
Yep.
In that same article in NME, Beabadoobee said that she wants to live in the 90s.
She wants to live in the 90s world.
Yeah, and that sentiment is really kind of all over this album. It's grunge pop and 90s and early 2000s pop punk, just in so many ways. It even reminds me of bands like Letters to Cleo, Veruca Salt,
Yep.
maybe a little bit of Hole with
Yep.
Courtney Love,
I had
The
that
Breeders.
one. Yep, I had that one down.
Really a lot of Juliana Hatfield. Like I hear that
Ooh.
all in this record.
You're taking me back with that reference.
Well, Lucy Shanker in Consequence of Sound, she said that when she was reviewing this album, she so closely channels Dolores O'Riordan.
From Cranberries.
Yeah, O'Riordan and Alanis Morissette, and then she even mentioned Hayley Williams, of Paramore.
Yep.
She said that it could almost be mimicking if it wasn't for her unshakable sense of self.
Exactly, yeah. Because I mean, the lyrics are very like personal.
Yeah.
You know, they're all specifically about moments that have happened to her.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, this album was produced by Pete Robertson, who is the drummer for one of my favorite bands from the UK, The Vaccines.
Hey.
One thing that really differs from B's EPs is that much of it was lo-fi, like all of that. She was doing this whole lo-fi sound, which is almost kind of like a trend now.
It is, and it can be, and if it's done right, it's awesome.
It is. It can be really awesome. I think it still can be used in a great way, but especially in her genre and style, like it is used on almost every album coming out.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I think he really did for Fake It Flowers is he went with more of a hi-fi sound. There is some still lo-fi in there, and it's definitely still grunged out.
But he had to give her some grunge, like crunch.
Yes.
For the guitars.
Yep. There's a lot of 90s influenced rock coming out as of late. We've talked about some of it on the show, but basically it's just more guitar-driven rock.
Yeah. Soccer Mommy, Snail Mail. Those are two of the kind of like newer, ones that are doing this sound kind of nowadays. Claro is another one that I'm super into. I love her.
I think the Snail Mail is really a great comparison.
Yeah.
I kept thinking about that record when I was listening to this as well. There have been other groups, in her generation, like those that have kind of drawn from this 90s. So it's not the first time, but I'm just not sure it's been done.
It's not, but it stands out more.
At this level. Like this one feels to me like, hey, everybody started setting, kind of laying the groundwork, and then I'm going to come in and just crush it. The next song I want to play is a song called Charlie Brown. You will hear all of these attributes on this one song. Well, as strange as it may sound to call someone with a 90s influence the voice of Generation Z, the Zoomers are here and they're creating music.
That's correct.
So, last year we watched the ascension of Billie Eilish, which is another Zoomer, and it's no surprise that they are mining the musical landscape of the last 30 years.
Absolutely.
So
it is just very cool to see, like, when they have no like frame of reference other than like, observational.
Yeah, that's their classic
history,
rock, basically.
Research or whatever, but it's classic rock to them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes sense that the major influence on these artists are from the 90s and early 2000s because, that's just, that would have been some of the first music they were exposed to.
Yep. But at an early
age. And then they would have had to go back and revisit it later. So, this album will be on most, if not all, editorial end-of-year list. She's definitely connected in the UK, and she's really starting to connect here. Outside of the streaming world, the streaming world, she's connected everywhere.
Yeah, she's connected no matter what, but the U.S., I think her presence in the U.S. will probably take off.
That's what I'm seeing. I think my prediction is that she will be fairly established, in the alternative space by next summer. I'm also sure that once touring returns, you will probably see her getting on, at some point she's going to be on a pretty big package here in the States. She's been on really big packages in the UK.
And the festivals will come.
Yeah, the festivals are all going to have her down whenever those get rolling again. So I just think,
she won't be on bottom liner either. She'll be up there towards the top.
So this is someone, if you haven't heard her yet, this is someone you're going to hear a lot of over the next year.
It's time to get introduced.
Our members are going to get this in a very limited edition, orange and white marbled pressing. So if you want to grab that one, go Rockin' Alternative.
One,
November 27th, Kelly Finnigan will be releasing his second studio album and his first Christmas album on Coal Mine Records. Now, we've had Kelly Finnigan's debut solo album in our program. We had it in 2019. We also had his band, the Monophonics, in our Jazz Soul Blues program this year.
An amazing record.
He's without a doubt one of the leading voices in the soul revival in the U.S. today.
And like, this isn't even like a kind of music that I normally seek out, but every time Kelly Finnigan comes up, I'm like, oh, got a new Kelly Finnigan album to listen to.
Well, and the thing is, every time I play it, and I'm like, wow.
Why don't I listen to more soul and R&B music?
Yeah. Well, we normally don't put a Christmas album in our program, as I mentioned earlier, but this one, I just couldn't resist. Like, the songs are originals, and they sound like something that you could play even outside of the traditional season. Like, they don't feel, they feel like they definitely fit in Christmas, but
and they'll reference Christmas.
Yeah, but you can play them all year.
But you can play it in July. You can have Christmas in July.
Throwing it on in the background of your Christmas dinner, though, is going to be pretty sweet.
It'll be all right.
This continues Finnigan's classic soul style and approach that rests in the traditions of Stax Records, Muscle Shoals, Daptone Records, Dunham Records. Since the album actually comes out on Black Friday, we will be shipping it right after Thanksgiving, so everyone will get it in time to spend it most of December.
All month long during Christmas.
But the first retail single that Finnigan released to set up the album was called Heartbreak for Christmas. Not only an amazing vocalist, Finnigan is also a multi-instrumentalist who writes, produces, and records all of his own music.
That's not annoying at all, just from a musician standpoint.
This is the third album that Finnigan has produced in the last 2 years. This time, however, he brings in, honestly, I think he brings in everybody he knows.
Pretty much, yeah. This is his family and friends collective.
Yeah.
All on the album.
So this album features members from Duran Jones and the Indications, which is a group we've had on our program
Another
twice.
Coal Mine. Super great, special find.
Same style, but just a really great young artist that is doing this kind of music.
Yeah, the same,
the Dap Kings, Ghost Funk Orchestra, and of course his band, the Monophonics. I mean, there's many other guest performers on the album as well.
Delvon Lamar Organ Trio, which is a super cool little kind of instrumental band that's also, I think, on Coal Mine. I bought one of their records last year for Record Store Day, and it was amazing. It's awesome.
Well, this album was inspired by 3 records in particular. One was Atlanta Records' Soul Christmas. Second one was Phil Spector's A Christmas Gift for You, and the third was the Rotary Connections piece. Soul Christmas was recorded originally on Acto in 1968 and reissued in 91 on Atlantic. It featured multiple guest performances from artists like Otis Redding, Clarence Carter. It's a rare album, by the way. If you find it somewhere, if you find this album somewhere, you need to grab it because it's a tough one to find. Phil Spector's A Christmas Gift for You was originally released in '63, and that album sits at number 142 on Rolling Stone magazine's list of 500 greatest albums of all time. It features performance like Darlene Love, the Ronettes, the Crystals, Bobby Sox, and the Blue Jeans. And then the Rotary Connection was a backing band for Muddy Waters on his 1968 album Electric Mud. So that album was released in '68 and was really the band's biggest performer. And that album consisted more of original Christmas songs, whereas the other two had kind of been standard
traditional Christmas songs,
secular Christmas songs.
Yeah.
Right. So
covered in their style.
What you can see by the reason I mentioned those three projects is that's what he set out to do. He set out to do a modern day version of those albums.
Yeah. And even though it's modern day, it still could be released in 68.
Oh my gosh, it could completely it could have been released right alongside these. It's firmly rooted in that pinnacle of the soul movement from the 60s. And he's drawing inspiration from these projects, which is another reason why you really shouldn't ignore this album and just treat it like maybe like somebody put out a Christmas record, because it's not really that.
No. It's a very deliberate project.
Yeah. The latest single released from this album to set it up is a song called No Time to Be Sad. It's lush and very much like something you would have heard from Motown records. It has strings, horns. Honestly, it's just hard to believe that when you hear this, it's hard to believe that you haven't heard this song years ago.
Yeah, this song came out in 2020.
Yeah, this is No Time to Be Sad. Finnigan said about this album that I want people to feel joy and hope. I want the music to remind them what they are thankful for. The songs and the mood of the music should spark a feeling that is special this time of year, but also that it can be a difficult time for others.
Yeah.
Holidays are about bringing people together to celebrate, and I want to record to be a soundtrack for those celebrating, but also a reminder that a lot of people are struggling regardless of whether it's Christmas or not. Yeah, he said, I'm lucky to have some incredible musicians and artists on the record, and I hope that they can hear the joy that everyone put into their performance. You know, we got this album early from Coal Mine Records, and that track that we played at the intro to this segment was called Just One Kiss. That is actually on the album as well. I wanted to play one more to showcase this album for all of you. You cannot hear this anywhere yet, but it's another great example of just how strong this album is. This song is called Santa's Watching You.
You know he sees you when you're sleeping. You better watch out. Oh, you better not cry. No, no. I'm here to tell you.
You know, we have this for our members in a limited edition Norway Spruce Green vinyl.
Yeah, that Norway Spruce really sets it off.
That's right. You can also grab Finnigan's solo debut, The Tells People Tell, and the Monophonics, It's Only Us. Both of them are limited edition color vinyl. And we also have Phil Spector's A Christmas Gift for You if you want to grab that classic album as well.
Get the Wall of Sound.
mentioned you. I know you don't listen to me, 'cause you say you see straight through me, don't you? But on and on, from the moment I wake to the moment I sleep, I'll be there by your side. Just you try and stop me, I'll be waiting in line just to see if you can.
On July 10th in the year 2000, Coldplay burst onto the scene with their debut studio album, Parachutes, on Parlophone Records in the UK. On November 7th of that same year, they released the album in the US on Network. The album would peak at number 51 on Billboard 200 and number 1 on the UK albums chart. It charted really all over the world.
All over.
It was certified...
This was the beginning of their worldwide domination.
It was certified 2 times platinum in the US. It was 9 times platinum in the UK, which is a different standard.
It's half, isn't it?
They've sold about the same number there.
I can't
as they
remember.
have here.
Yeah.
But the album won the band Group of the Year and Album of the Year at the 2001 Brit Awards. It was also nominated for Best Rock Song and Best Performance by a Group or Duo at the 44th Grammy Awards in 2002, and it won Alternative Album of the Year.
Yep.
Chris Martin's vocals were compared to Jeff Buckley, who had died just 3 years before in 1997.
I hate that.
So, this was due largely to Martin's use of the falsetto. Which he uses a lot around the record.
And his range to go into that, from the falsetto into his normal range is really great.
The other thing I thought was interesting is that if you remember in context of when this album came out, they were also compared a little bit to Radiohead, but ironically, they ended up filling a gap that band ended up leaving because they were on the same label. They were also on Parlophone.
Parlophone, yeah.
But in 2000, they released Kid A. Yeah. And that was largely rejected by fans and critics alike.
It's so much more, I think, electronic than what they were used to with the Radiohead sound.
Well, Andrew Smith from The Observer called Kid A commercial suicide note. So
I don't know if that sentiment is still shared 20 minutes or 20 years down the road.
Time has been kind to that album for sure. But at the time, you got to realize, Coldplay releases this record, and the band that probably was the most similar to them is now sidelined with everybody was waiting on Kid A, and they hated it.
And this is all really AAA heavy acoustic, but with the good nice guitar, nice electric guitars. Nothing's grating. It's all really pretty. You know what I'm saying? The pianos, everything. It's just poor Radiohead. They had already had their time though.
Well, on top of that, you have the popularity implosion and lineup change with Oasis in '99. They released an album in February 2000 that was kind of met with this really lukewarm reception.
Yeah.
So honestly, the playing field was completely leveled for this new, going into the new millennia. It was completely leveled for a new British band. Yep. And, some critics, they absolutely believe that the vacuum left at that moment in time, was immediately filled by Coldplay with Parachutes. Yeah. And so, as solid as that record is, it's still one of those things where you kind of go, if you look at it in the context of history and music history in particular, they got very lucky.
Oh, yes.
At the fact that it came out when it did.
Yeah. I mean, there's luck involved. There's yes, of course you have the talent and you wrote the songs, but there was a good bit of luck that helped, propel you to where you ended up.
Well, Matt Dill in Rolling Stone at the time, he said, who will be the next Radiohead, or the next Verve, or Travis? In England, the answer on everybody's lips is Coldplay.
Yeah.
And I even remember at the time when this record came out, when it started getting really big, especially when we get into the follow-up album, there was this constant conversation about hey, is Coldplay going to usurp U2?
Yeah.
Is U2 not going to be the big worldwide arena act anymore? Is it going to be, so.
And I really feel whether or not it happened with that next record, Coldplay made it to that level.
Yeah, for sure.
Coldplay was and I want to say 2006 to 10-ish, biggest band in the world, I feel like.
Well, the first single off this album in the UK was Shiver. That's the song that we were playing at the intro to this segment. It charted at number 26 on Billboard Alternative, number 35 on the UK's OCC. The first single in the US was the massively successful hit song Yellow. It went to number 4 in the UK, number 2 on the Billboard AAA, number 6 on Alternative, number 11 on Top 40, and number 22 on Mainstream Top 40. It charted literally all over the world and really set Coldplay on track to be the band that they are today. This is an absolute career-making song. This is Yellow.
Look at the stars, look how they shine for you, and everything you do. Yeah, they were all yellow. I came along, I wrote a song for you, and all the things you do. And it was called Yellow. So then I took my turn. Oh, what a thing to have done. And it was all yellow.
So the album was produced by the band and producer Ken Nelson.
Yep.
Now, Nelson had produced the British indie rock band Gomez's first 2 albums, 98's Bring It On and 99's Liquid Skin.
Gomez, that takes me back.
He'd also just finished Badly Drawn Boy's 2000 album, The Hour of Bewilderbeast.
Wow.
That album dropped 1 month before Parachutes.
Oh, wow.
Nelson would go on to produce Coldplay's 2002 release, A Rush of Blood to the Head, and 2005's X and Y. So, you know, they stayed with him for a while.
Great records, man.
Right. Pretty much like all in this early stage when they were kind of conquering the world, he's a part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
NME pointed out in 2005 that people were complaining about the band being basically too cut, like almost like they're too professional, not enough rock star.
Yeah.
And like there wasn't enough drama or something like
just a normal band of
this
guys.
is ironic considering they were coming out of like people were literally sick of Oasis because of the exact opposite.
Because of how much there was of too much charisma.
And so in an NME, when they were talking about that, they said that, you know, Parachute is all that matters in the world to singer Chris Martin. It only takes one listen to realize how he poured every thought, every feeling he's had in the last 2 years into this record. With the focus so much on Chris's voice here, it's like reading one long, intimate love letter. It's powerful because its sentiment is so simple, and let's face it, it's so easy for everyone to comprehend.
That's great.
So, you know, one of the things that I think Nelson brought to this project at that time is that things were a little chaotic for them.
Yeah.
And he brought to the project like just
Some
space
glue.
and slowing down.
Yeah.
And he talked specifically about like this isn't a tempo thing when I say slowing down. It's more of like a pace and like them feeling rushed.
Yeah.
And he just calmed it down and let it just breathe.
Yep.
And the net result of this, you know, of course, is that Martin's voice really does shine on, that he becomes front and center for sure.
This is an unmistakable vocal, you know, that like we've had now for 20 years from Chris Martin. Like, you know, the second you hear his voice, I feel like.
Well, the third single off this album was a song called Trouble. It was built around the acoustic piano and Martin's vocal. The track was recorded 4 different ways before they got the track that they wanted to keep.
Yep. Yeah, I read that Chris Martin basically wrote this kind of as an apology to Will Champion, the bassist, because he had like been picking on him so much through like the recording process about like recording a certain part or whatever, that he finally was like, look, I think I was probably acting like a jerk through that whole thing, so he wrote him an apology song.
Well, it was minimalistic and it was beautiful, and it went to number 10 in the UK. It didn't chart in the USA at first, but it ended up going number 4 on Billboard's AAA, number 23 on Adult Top 40, and number 28 on Alternative. So this is Trouble.
Oh no, I see a spider web is tangled up with me, and I lost my head and thought of all the stupid things I'd said.
You know, if you were lucky enough to see this band tour this album, it would have been something special because it was mostly small clubs and venues. I remember at some point they came to the Ryman. It was probably after the second album, but it was before they were playing arenas. That's one show that kind of happened like right under my nose that I still regret missing. I have a friend that went, and every time I see the hat show print, for Coldplay, I'm just like
this little,
because you'll never see them there again. They're too big.
They can't play the Ryman anymore.
Yeah, but this album was an absolute career maker. Since this album's release, Coldplay has received 28 nominations with 9 wins at the Brit Awards. They've had 29 nominations with 7 wins at the Grammys.
29 nominations.
They have received 15 MTV Awards with 25 nominations. They've also released 8 albums and gone on to sell over 100 million albums worldwide. They're one of the top-selling artists of all time.
I was waiting for you to share that number.
Yeah.
That number should, that's staggering.
That's right. And this is the album that started it all. So
it is.
You want to grab this one if you don't have it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people probably don't have this on vinyl because originally in the U.S. it was released on tape and CD. Oh. They did release a vinyl, but I think it was in Europe. And so some of it may have made its way over here. But now this is the album on vinyl. It's the 20th anniversary edition. It's translucent yellow.
Yellow for
That's
yellow.
Right. We do have a few older Coldplay albums, including 2019's Everyday Life in a double 180-gram pressing. So definitely go check out Coldplay. Well, that is all the November records of the month for the Blind Tiger Record Club. If you want to find out more about any of these albums, head to blindtigerrecordclub.com and go to the homepage, and you can read more about any and all of the records that we talked about on this show. You can also learn how to become a member. You can actually pick one of these albums to start your membership, and after that, you'll get vinyl like this delivered to your door every month. We have international memberships available, so you can really join from anywhere in the world. In November, at some point, we are going to be switching to Thanksgiving and Christmas mode, just like everybody else, which includes Black Friday and Cyber Week. B.T.R.C is not any different, so we're going to have all kinds of sales running in November in these weeks leading up to Christmas. So be looking out for specials later this month. Just go to the website and keep up with the discounts that we'll be offering through Christmas. Please remember our sponsor, World Vision. If you go to blindtigerrecordclub.com/worldvision and donate $20 or more to World Vision, email the receipt to vinyl@blindtigerrecordclub.com and we will send you a $10 gift card. And you can use that for anything you want in the store. Don't forget to check out our LP interview segment and all of our archive of past shows at the Blind Tiger Record Club podcast. You can go to blindtigerrecordclub.com and just click on the podcast button. Please follow the podcast, like us, leave reviews and comments, tell your friends about the show, email Lightning100, stay up to date on all that we are doing by signing up for our email list at the website. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Most importantly, please keep coming back. We want to thank Finnigan Bell for the use of their song For a Dying Man as our show's theme song, and also to Lewis Bryce for his song Blessed on our World Vision spot. And thank you to Lightning100 for always supporting local art and events and even shows like ours. Until next time, keep the wax spinning.
For a dying man, I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good.